What's up, guys? Prince Sports here. So the first domino has fallen. All right. Kyle Lowry goes to the Miami Heat. There's no surprise there. I thought he was going to go to the Miami Heat. Him going to the Miami Heat, they gives him a solid point guard to help Jimmy Butler out, which is good. You know, Kyle Lowry had a very inconsistent season the last season. Oh, G Money, salute. Kyle Lowry had a very off and on season, but him on the Miami Heat is a good look. It's a solid pickup for the Miami Heat. You know, they got somebody to give Jimmy Butler some help. And I think, yeah, this is a great move. You know, I think him going to the also Pistons side Kelly Olynyk right now. So deal's already going down. Kyle Lowry's the first guy off the board. I like it. You know, Cavaliers offered Jared Allen $100 million. That's a good pickup for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's a great defensive player. Was on the Brooklyn Nets. They had to let him go because they had to let James Harden come in there to let him go. But Kyle Lowry on the Miami Heat is a good look, man. So shout out to the Miami Heat, a great run franchise. You know, Pat Riley knows how to build a good team around it and get solid pickups. You know, yeah, he brings good versatility, defense, all of that, playmaking. He could score. You know, he's a solid pickup. You know, he could give you a good 15 points to 16 points a game. You know, good. You know, this is going to give the Milwaukee Bucks a little competition. You know, so what up, Z? So yeah, Larry can shoot. Yeah, his shooting game picked up over the time. You know, but they got some solid pieces over there in Miami. You know, constructed good team. So that's a great pickup. Jared Allen staying on the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're really showing that young brother the bag and giving him a good job and letting him stay on that team. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good pickup. This free agency is going rapid. First day, and it's already getting popped off. And speaking of free agents, I'm taking off the board. I'm a free agent when it comes to work, and I got another job that I start tomorrow. So this free agent is off the board, you know. Yeah, Magic got a nice point. Hold on. Suggs is a rookie. We don't know what he's going to bring to the table. Let's just give the guy some time. You know, that's a future team. Let him develop. You know, and he got drafted. He's not even a proven player yet, Zach. So you can't just go by sitting there saying this guy going to be this and that. You have to see him play basketball. You know, because busts do exist. A lot of guys were supposed to be good in the NBA, didn't come out to be good. So you got to give him time to develop as a good player. You know. So that's just how that goes about, you know. On paper, they got a young core that needs to be developed. So the Orlando Magic got some work to do. Don't trade those players, develop them. If they come to All-Stars, you know, you found a winner in the draft pick. If they don't, then you could just move them, send them to the G League or whatever the case may be. You know, yeah, as a Knicks, we need some backups. We need some good backups, man. You know, and to respond to AK, listen, man, if you have a team that developed into 3 All-Stars, that is not a super team. That's a team that's been developed by their franchise. There's a big difference. You can't change your criteria. If you take a player that's already established from one team, he's already a top 5 or a top 10 player, and then you put him on a team with a guy that's already a top 5 and top 10 player, and vice versa, it keeps going on, that becomes the cheat code known as the super team. Okay, you can't change the rules. That's the rules to it, okay? Hopefully you can understand that, you know? No, you're wrong about this because the goalpost, Zach. You're absolutely moving the goalposts. Super teams did not exist until 2011. Period. You cannot make a super team out of a draft. I repeat, you cannot make a super team out of a draft. I even had Sacktown was trying to say the Lakers were a super team with Kobe and Paul Gasol. Don't you think if that was a super team, it would have been discovered by then? Andrew Bynum was drafted by the Lakers, and he wasn't even a perennial all-star or a top 5 or a top 10 player in the league. And Lamar Odom wasn't even a top 5 or a top 10 player in the league as a franchise player taken from another team. Understand the criteria of what we're talking about first, There were 3 all-stars, but they were not top 5 or top 10. Sorry. And Paul Pierce was drafted by the Celtics, my brother. The only guys they got those other 2 guys coming in by trade, which was on the tail end of their career. That's not the definition of what we're talking about when we're talking about a super team. So what you're talking about is a complete different criteria, which doesn't fit the criteria of what we're talking about when we say a modern day super team. No, so you're absolutely changing the goalposts and moving it around. Magic, James Worthy, drafted. They could have been a bust. They could have been Kwame Brown. So they don't fit the criteria of what you're talking about. No. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are 2 top 5 players. I just said in the post with you, Russell Westbrook is arguably a top 10 to a top 15, okay? If you got one guy like that with 2 top 5 players in the league, that is a super team. All right? Those are 3 guys in their prime. Anthony Davis was taken away from another franchise. Russell Westbrook was taken away from another franchise. All right? I just told you that. I don't understand why you don't get it through your head. I laid it out for you. What a modern day super team. 2011 till now. Stop talking about the past as if you know what you're talking about. You wasn't even from that era. If you build a team, we did not even use the term super team because it never existed. Guys were drafted to a team and they were developed. Michael Jordan took him over 7 years to get over the hump to become the best player in the world, Michael Jordan, so to speak. Scottie Pippen was a guy drafted by the Bulls, averaging only 13 points a game. Coming off the bench, I might add, Because you don't know what you're talking about. That's why. Do some education first. Super team started in 2011. Player movement. All right. Let's say you, Zach, an NBA player. You are a top 5 best player in the game. I'm a top 5 best player in the game. And let's just say Hannah's a top 5 best player in the game. If I recruit both of you guys to one team, I deplete the competition in the NBA by bringing you on to my team. That is a super team. Okay? That's the quote unquote super team of what I'm talking about. Guys being pulled from another franchise. Michael Jordan didn't pull Scottie Pippen from another franchise. Scottie Pippen was already drafted and developed by the Chicago Bulls. He could have came a bust, but he came out to be something good. I guess not, because it goes out of one era to the next. You guys still don't get the criteria of what a super team is, but that's okay. You can watch the videos that I made. I'm not going to keep regurgitating the same point, but I will trip over to Kyle Lowry going to the Miami Heat, which is a good look. He gets to play with an up and down player in Bam Bam Adebayo, a consistent top 20, 25 player in the world with Jimmy Butler, which is good. You growed up watching Larry Bird and man, get out of here with that. You're in your 20s. You're about 22 years old, bro. Stop it. The age never don't. The age never don't matter. You know, I don't think you guys understand the criteria, man. You can't change the rules of it. You know, it does matter if you was drafted. A drafted team is like going to a lotto. Drafted players are from the franchise, brother. They're not established players already. You cannot make a super team out of a draft pick. I repeat, you cannot make a super team out of a draft pick. They're just babies. You don't even know what they're going to develop into. You know, you don't know what they're going to develop into. You know, they have to get drafted and develop. And this is why people don't call certain teams a super team, because they're going by the criteria of what I just mentioned. All right. It's just simple as that. No, I'm going by the criteria of what the NBA states as, what the media states as. When you got guys being pulled from multiple franchises, being on one franchise, that's a super team in modern day NBA history, which has never been done. Nobody has never done that. If they develop into a Hall of Fame players, great. That don't make it a super team. That make it a dynasty. The Spurs aren't a super team. Them guys were drafted and they were developed. Tony Parker wasn't taken from another franchise as a top 5 player in the game. Manu Ginobili wasn't taken away from his franchise as an alpha and a top 10, top 5 player in the game. They were all late round draft picks. There's no narrative, okay? That's just the rules. Don't change the rules. You know, Spurs were a dynasty, yes, but drafted. All those guys were drafted, and they became great. It's a cheat code if I take you from a team, Zach, and you're already a top 5 player in the game. You're already established. That is completely different from a baby and a rookie in a draft class. NBA teams have been building their franchises from draft picks from decades before you were even born, okay? You don't make a super team by a draft pick. No, you cannot draft a super team. Super teams, what we're talking about, are guys being pulled from other teams. Other teams. Pulled from other teams. Let it go through your mind. Let it go through your head. Pulled from other teams that's already established. A drafted player is not established. But I'm not going to explain it. If you don't understand by now, then you're just slow in the brain. I'm not going to explain that to you no more. No more explaining that to me. I'm not going to explain that to you anymore. Because sometimes people just don't understand. But maybe they do because they're trolling, you know. So anyway, Kyle Lowry, great fit for the Miami Heat. I think this puts them up to par with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, if they go hand to hand with the Milwaukee Bucks, this will be a battle. Because remember, they sweep Giannis one year. Giannis got his revenge this year. So now we could probably get the Miami Heat going, getting their revenge on the Milwaukee Bucks, you know. I'm not disrespecting you, bro, but you don't understand what I'm talking about. You keep changing the criteria and you keep acting as if a super team is a team that's developed on the team. No, you don't make a super team by drafting players. I can't draft a player and say that's a super team. You know how dumb that sounds? Listen to what you're saying, bro. We're talking about players that's already established, that already got rep, that already known, household names, perennial all-stars. That's what Russell Westbrook is. That's what Anthony Davis is. That's what LeBron James is. You're making absolutely no sense, man. Make sense when you talk, bro, because I'm not going to keep responding to stuff that makes absolutely no sense. And the same thing goes for you, AK. Listen to the criteria of what we're talking about when we say super teams. Why you think the media says, oh, LeBron got his big 3 super team? Because they're going by the modern day criteria. I'm not disrespecting you, bro. I'm just telling you listen to what I'm trying to say to you. Then, if you want to debate it, then you could debate it, but don't debate it by making up terms that don't exist. You know. Thank you, G Money. That's what I'm trying to say, man. I mean, G Money get what I'm trying to say. I clearly just set it out for you. I just clearly broke it down for you. I don't understand what more do I could possibly. If I give you a job and I explained you the criteria of what you have to do at the job, and you tell me, no, this is not it. This is how you do it. This is how you do that. That's just you not listening, bro. It's as simple as that. I'm not disrespecting you. It's all love, man. I'm just trying to help you out in what I'm trying to explain. Okay? It's not me. It's the way it's been constructed. The media, the NBA, that's their criteria of what a super team is. It started in 2011. I mean, I don't know what more you want me to say, bro. You just want me to sit here and act like it didn't start it from the Miami Heat. That player movement, that's going to be a big part of LeBron's legacy. That started in 2011. It's just facts. Guys weren't moving from, well, Larry Bird wasn't teaming up with Magic Johnson. They were all drafted by their team, and they got good by the team that they were drafted by. That's the difference, man. If I make a team full of babies and they develop to become the greatest team of all time, that's a dynasty. That's not a super team. That's not me grabbing players from other teams. It's not an opinion. This is an actual fact. This is the criteria of what a super team is. You know, you're just mad because you're not understanding. You know, this is not even an opinion anymore. This is the actual fact. This is actual facts of what we're talking about when we say modern day super team. It's not about you being a Hall of Famer, man. Who said anything about me getting personal? Did I call you? How I'm getting personal? We talking basketball. I mean, dog, you just mad because you don't understand what I'm trying to explain to you. You know, and I'm not going to keep explaining something to you that I made videos on. So you could debate that with somebody else, but don't debate it with me if I already explained it to you. We can't even have this conversation if you're going to change the rules of what I'm talking about. Let me give a link. No, what you getting mad about? Because you're trying to change the rules? You know, you just don't understand, bro. You just don't get it. And clearly you don't get it if you're making comments like that. It's the same thing that why you got called out with the Eminem situation. You know? That's an opinion. Me saying I don't like Eminem is an opinion. But in this case, this is more of a factual thing.
What's going on, man?
What's good, brother?
How you doing?
Well, chilling, man. But hey, man, let me get your thoughts on this Kyle Lowry situation, and maybe you could charm in and try to tell Zach what I'm trying to explain, because I don't think he get what I'm trying to explain. I think you understand 100% completely of what I'm trying to explain.
Mm-hmm. Look these Bammers, man.
One salute, kid, salute, Prince. I came back from Ghana yesterday.
Okay, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, man. And also, let's start with the Kyle Lowry. Good move by Miami. You get a champion who can defend, who can draw charges, who can shoot the three, who was a former All-Star that can penetrate, that can pass. That's a good move for Miami. And also, Jimmy Butler re-signed Miami on a 4-year, $184 million deal. So that's a good move for Miami there. And so Miami's going to be a tough out. They still need to get a rim protector to help out Bam Adebayo, in my opinion, if they want to go far next year. But Miami, that's a good move for them. And what you said, Prince, I look at both sides here. To an extent, you're right that there's a lot of super teams now compared to back then. But at the same time, there were some super teams before 2011. It's true. Like the 08 Celtics.
No, look at this. Man, you could probably make a case for that though, bro. But those guys they didn't fit under the criteria of what we're talking about. All right.
True,
look at it like this.
Yeah.
Look at it like this, man. We're talking about modern day super teams, top elite perennial all-stars that was franchise players.
True.
Leaving their franchise, going to one franchise.
Right.
That's automatically a cheat code. That was started in 2011.
I agree with that.
Nobody has won in that fashion, in that way.
That's a good point.
So that's what I'm trying to talk about.
Right.
I'm not talking about if I draft somebody, that is not a super team. That is a rookie, a kid that's just learning how to play basketball.
Exactly.
All right.
I agree.
If he develops into being a great player, so be it. He could develop to being the next Kwame Brown. Don't get at me, Kwame Brown. But but you get what I'm talking about. You cannot make a super team do a draft pick. For you to think that is just not you're completely not understanding the criteria of what's going on. If I hire you for a job, G Money, and I tell you this job requires you to lift up heavy items and move them from this destination to that destination. You can't come back and change the rules and say, "Oh,
exactly.
This is not the rules of the job." All right.
I have to listen and do what you say. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yo, these Bammers be saying that the Lakers when they got Russell Westbrook is not a super team no more, man.
What? There are super teams.
These LeBron sexuals. I'm a LeBron homosexual then, huh? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like LeBron though, but man, they be capping so hard for this dude, man.
I don't get it. You see, this is why I always say not every opinion deserves respect. This is why. Because when I hear an opinion that's not based on facts, that's not based on logic, I have no reason to listen to it. No disrespect. I'm not talking about you, Prince. You're fine, Prince.
Right.
I'm just saying in general. But if your opinion is based on logic and facts, then I can listen to it. But I get what you're saying, kid. Look at the Lakers now. Russell Westbrook was a former MVP, right? Top 10 point guard.
Speaking of that, before you love, I don't mean to cut you off too much. The Lakers are still working on ways to get Buddy Hield. They could do a sign and trade with Dennis Schroeder to get Buddy Hield. I told you the Lakers still could get even good pieces, even more.
And they maybe get they could get JJ Redick. You never know. So
yep.
So, but here's what I'm saying. Great info, by the way, Prince. Thank you for the info. But here's what I'm saying. The Lakers are a super team. Russell Westbrook is an MVP, right? Top 5 point guard in the NBA, in my opinion. Top 10 point guard for a fact right now.
Right.
Anthony Davis was a former MVP candidate with the Lakers, and he's a top 5 to top 10 player in the NBA. LeBron is arguably the best player in the NBA, or at least a top 3 player in the NBA right now. So how is it not a super team? That's what I
exactly, and that fits the criteria already, And he started that criteria with no player has ever linked up with other players, and they taking them from all different franchises and coming together for one franchise. Now if you don't understand the effects of that and how that depletes the NBA, I mean, you could just do some research on your own. If I take the best players from each team, okay, or I deplete a lot of franchises, what am I doing to the NBA? I'm lowering the competition because I'm bringing the best players on one team. All right. That was never the case in the 80s, the 90s. Those guys were drafted. They developed to being great players. Right. Okay. They could have been anything. They could have been a flop. They could have been a one-year all-star. Right. They could have been what I call a lucky tier all-star, which is somebody that's an all-star for 1 year or something like that. But they developed into being great players. Okay. They weren't stashed from other teams and already established. They weren't a product that's already made. Right, there's a difference. There's a difference between building something up from scratch and buying a product that's ready to go right there off the bat. That's what I'm talking about,
Right.
and that's what he's not. That's what he's on. He's not.
I like Zach. Z's a good guy, man. I respect Zach, but he's overreacted. You did not disrespect him.
I didn't.
You didn't. I don't know what he's complaining about. What you were trying to do was explain the criteria of how a super team works, especially in this era. That's what you're trying to explain. They're trying to push the narrative. Z and AK are trying to push the narrative that, the Warriors were a super team in 2016. No, they were not. They were not a super team before KD.
And
Clay's
they weren't called. I'm glad you brought that up because they weren't called a super team until KD
Clay's
got
not
there.
a superstar. Clay's an all-star.
Yeah, and they weren't called the super team. They weren't called the super team until Durant got there.
KD made him a super team. We're talking about 2 MVPs on the same team. Yes, I know Clay's a good player, but is Clay a number one option on the team? Probably not. So it's just fact. Clay's not number one option. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah. But what makes them a super team was the fact that Durant with Clay and Steph Curry. Now I'm taking Draymond out the mix because before Kevin Durant got there, it was just their best players were Draymond, Clay, and Steph. That wasn't a super team. That team was drafted all late round draft picks that wasn't even presumed to be great. Those guys became great on their own, practice and hard work and determination on their own. You can't sit there and just say, "Oh, he developed into a great player after somewhat
and people
years."
Just look at record. They won 73 games does not make them a super team. I'll give you an example, Prince, right? Let's say Milwaukee goes 74-8 this year. Are they a super team all of a sudden?
No.
Okay, so I don't know why people just look at, they won 73 games. It don't freaking matter. One, they lost, and two, the fact that, all right, by their logic, were the Warriors a super team in 2015 because they won a championship? No. So I don't understand people's logic for certain things. And also, you were also trying to explain that the Cavs were a super team, which they were. Kevin Love was the top 5. Kevin Love was a top 5 power forward at the time.
Exactly.
In Minnesota, other than maybe Tim Duncan, he was the best power forward in the NBA, other than maybe Tim Duncan, I guess Dirk Nowitzki.
Yep.
2, also the fact that Kyrie Irving was the top 10 point guard in the NBA in that era. And also LeBron was the best player. And also J.R. Smith, 6th man of the year.
That's just the supporting cast. But by the super team rules, that big 3 fitted the criteria. That's a super team.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to talk about. That's what I'm trying to explain. And they acting like these guys were all drafted in one team and they stayed with it for 7 years and they all developed into great players. No, man, they were already a finished product. They were already in their prime, winning MVPs and being considered top 5 or top 10 best player in the world.
True.
Now, I could say all I want about Russell Westbrook. I got my criticisms about Russell Westbrook. All right. That does not change the fact that he is considered one of the best players in the game, one of the top 5 point guards in the game, Mr. Triple-Double. He's going to go down as Mr. Triple-Double, historic, right next to Oscar Robertson. You think of triple-doubles, you think of now Russell Westbrook and Oscar Robertson. There's nothing I could do to change that. That's a fact. I don't have to be a fan of a player to admit that, hey, he's going to be an all-time great.
Exactly. You just got to just watch the games, be honest, and like you said, and like I always tell people, use context into what you're talking about.
Right.
I always tell people this, and you made some amazing points, P, about super teams. But I want to ask you this question. Just want to ask you: were the Bill Russell Celtics a super team? Because they kind of drafted their players a little bit. No. Excuse me. Bill Russell was traded to Boston. Excuse me.
He was the only guy traded, but all those guys were just all those guys in the 60s were just drafted by that team, and that was just how it is. They just happen to have all the talent, and all them guys developed into being the best players. And it was only a 10 team league back then.
Good point.
When you talk about those 60s and 50s, now you're jumping into a whole dimension because the rules then don't apply to the rules now. The game was completely different. That's why I always say modern. Pretty soon the 80s and 90s won't be considered modern no more. But as of now, it's still considered modern. It's only hanging on by a thread because of Michael Jordan. But pretty soon that would change, because as decades go by, modern changes and 80s and 90s will become, old school and looked upon the same way that we looked at the 60s and 70s. So it'd be a completely different game then. But at the same time, when I say what I'm saying, I'm basing this off the criteria that the NBA has issued. Other than that, they wouldn't be calling these teams super teams if it wasn't classified as one. Don't you think that word would have been existing before 2011? Because LeBron did something that the NBA has never seen before. We never seen players taken away from their respective franchises come to one franchise. That's what I'm talking about when I say
in their prime, by the way, in their prime.
Yeah, in their prime. That's completely different from having guys on your team that develop into an all-star. That's completely different. What does that have to do with anything? And then you use the draft pick? How is a draft pick a super team?
It's not. It's not. And by the way, I just checked. CP3 will stay in the Valley of the Sun on a 4-year. You want to hear this? $120 million deal. Wow.
Nice. That is great. That is great. That is great. I'm good to see some of the competition. I like to see them run it back because they got questions to answer. You lost in the finals when you were the favorites, and people still calling you guys going to the finals, coming out the West due to injuries. Now you have a chance to prove people wrong. This is what sports is all about.
That's true, but here's what I look at the Suns' finals run. I think, yes, they got a bit fortunate, but injuries are part of the game. Injuries have happened before, okay?
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up because people try to move the narrative with injuries. Injuries has always been part of the game.
Exactly.
That's nothing to diminish certain players,
Or exactly. It's not the Suns' fault. And like I said, Chris Paul had a shoulder injury. Devin Booker broke his nose. Cam Johnson was sick and missed Game 6 against the Clippers, and Cameron Payne had an ankle injury. Let's not act if Phoenix didn't have some disadvantages. They did, okay? It irritates me when people downgrade championships or runs because of injuries. Is it the Phoenix? Is it the Suns' fault that the Lakers lost AD? No. Is it the Suns' fault that the Nuggets didn't have Jamal Murray? No. Is it the Suns' fault that Kawhi Leonard got hurt? No. So what are they supposed to do? Phoenix is not going to, forfeit a series because a player is out. No, they got to beat who's in front of them, and that's what they did. Sadly, well, I'm a Knicks fan, but I did want the Suns to win for CP3, but hey, I'm happy for the Bucks. But sadly, the Suns lost, but Phoenix's run wasn't a fluke or anything. Because if we're going by that logic, I guess every finals run is a fluke too, right? Let's look at 2018 with the Warriors. Here's how biased people are, right? People complain about Kawhi Leonard AD being hurt, but no one gives a fuck that Chris Paul went down with an injury when his teams are free too, the Rockets. Nobody cared, right? You see how biased it is?
Yep.
Even 2020, the Lakers, Bam Adebayo missed games 2 and 3. Goran Dragic missed 4 games in the series, but no one gives a fuck, right? According to people, right? We'll just ignore that, right?
Right.
It's ridiculous, man.
It's just moving the goalposts. They did the same for LeBron. When LeBron was playing the Phoenix Suns, they say he was great. He was in great shape. He's going to beat them. Then all of a sudden, when he lose, they bring out the excuse card.
We didn't have AD. The
injury card.
And I want to throw this out there. They say, LeBron hurt his ankle. He wasn't 100%. Neither was Chris Paul. Chris Paul has a shoulder injury. He wasn't 100%.
But see, the thing is, keep that same energy while he was playing. You wasn't saying that when he was playing.
And LeBron was playing still.
They only said that. Yep, they only said that G Money when he lost. You see the logic in that? That's fanboyism because they're only using that when he lose. And they was the same ones that upset about that big 3 super team in Brooklyn and throwing KD and everybody under the bus, what they should. But when LeBron does it, it's okay.
And that's sad. And here's another thing too that really kills me. Jamal Murray got hurt. Didn't the Blazers lose to that same team? Here's the bias, right? We're giving Dame sympathy, but he couldn't beat an injured Nuggets team. But yet we're gonna crap at Chris Paul and the Suns for sweeping them. That doesn't make any sort of sense to me. And the Kawhi Leonard thing, right? Yes, he is the Clippers' best player. I get it. But people forget about this. The Utah Jazz, who had the best record in the NBA, lost to that same team. Remember that? But the Phoenix Suns took advantage of that. And don't forget, Chris Paul missed the first 2 games because he had COVID. Okay? So why are we downgrading Phoenix's run to the finals? Yeah, they lost, but why are we downgrading the run? Because of injuries? And I just gave you facts in which you can't really say, oh, Kawhi went down, Murray down. You can't say that because other teams lost to them. You get what I'm saying? When they lost to players.
Oh yeah. So it's that's just crazy, man. But now look, here's a perfect example. Kyle Lowry signs with the Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. Nobody walking around saying that's a super team because it don't fit the criteria. Right. All right. That's why. So just because a team gets a new player, you guys use the word super team and don't even know the meaning of it.
Exactly.
At least base some criteria on. If we're just going by random talking, like how you said, with opinions, then with no criteria to it, then what's the point of even talking then? Because we're just talking out our buttholes, making up criteria with no rules
no
to the game.
Behind it, yes.
You know what I mean? So we got to lay down some criteria. There got to be some rules to this. And judging by the NBA rules, you just seen how they do it. They name all super teams with the same logic of what I just said. It's just common sense. You wasn't calling the Brooklyn Nets a super team with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. No. You called them when James Harden got in because that fits the criteria. Right. You wasn't calling the Lakers a super team until Russell Westbrook got there because that fit the criteria. We could turn on the TV right now. People saying Big Three super team. Everybody in the media is calling it. We already know what it is.
Right.
Right.
Go ahead.
And that's not going to change that's not going to change the fact that they're going to get even more better because they're going to get probably 6 men in the year nominees or whatever the case may be, and a solid role players. So you can't. Every Big Three super team has had good role players behind them. Right? It was a Ray Allen, Shane Battier, J.R. Smith, Mon Shumpert at the time. All those players at their time was great role players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Yeah, right. I get you. And another thing that kills me with people when they speak, I don't mind if you have a different opinion. I don't mind it. It's the way it's formed. Like, for example, right? It's just an example. If I said Kevin Knox is better than Kevin Durant, that's a foolish opinion, right?
Right.
It's an example. I don't think that. It's just an example. Like, if someone told me that, how can I understand and value your opinion? I'm not going to. You know how ridiculous that sounds? It's not because I disagree. It's the reasoning behind it. But if you had a different opinion, like, for example, right? I remember at the time you said that KD was better than LeBron when it comes to being the best player. You made a good argument. You made a good case, and that's why I value your opinion. I respect you. Listen, I can respect people's right to have an opinion, and I can respect people if they seem, nice, smart, kind, etc. But but if your opinion, your different perspective doesn't make sense, then you cannot force me to respect it. You can't force me, because at the end of the day, I can still respect you and your right to believe something. And I don't mind if you have a different opinion, but that different opinion has to make sense. You know what I mean? It can't sound stupid. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. LeBron in 4 in the chat says, you hate Dame Dollar.
I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to respond. Right. I hate Dame, but I give Dame his credit.
G-Money, I understand you completely. At this point, it's not even worth to respond to the Dame comments because everybody calls you a Dame hater. You completely explain yourself. It's like you're saying stuff, you're going out one ear do the other.
Exactly. And I give facts to back up. I didn't make things up. And here's the thing: I actually give Dame his credit when he plays well, right? Yeah. It's like these guys. Listen, I love Dame. Dame's a great player. He's a good person. He's a great humble guy. But it's like these guys want me to suck on Dame's ass and give him all and want me to give him an excuse for losing. I'm not going to do that, man. Like, why should I give Dame an excuse for losing to an injured Nuggets team? People say Dame has no help, but here's how foolish that sounds, right? 4 teammates were in double figures, okay, and outscored Joker's teammates. So don't tell me he had no help in the series. Don't tell me that. And I remember in Game 4, Dame went 1 for 10 and Portland won by 20. So what are we talking about? Like, I don't understand people sometimes. Yes, Dame is a great player, but the fact of the matter is, as the number 1 option, he hasn't gone to the finals. That's fact, right? He's 20-39 in the playoffs. Like, what is there to process that to people's skull? He's been in the play. He's he's had some monster moments, but there's a lot of moments which he's coming short. It's a fact. Let me keep example against the New Orleans Pelicans in 2018. He only had one 20-point game in that series. One. And also shot 35% in the series. That's choking, right? 2019 against the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, the Warriors were great, but remember, no Kevin Durant, no DeMarcus Cousins. Iggy missed game 4. You know what Dame shot in the series? 37%. He shot 4-12 in game 1, 6-16 game 2, 5-18 game 3. He only shot 31% in the fourth quarter in the series. That's choking. Let me keep going. Even let me keep going. Even in 2016, yes, the Warriors were great, but people forget about this. Steph Curry missed games 1, 2, and 3 because he had the MCL injury. In game 2, Portland was up 11 going to the fourth quarter. Klay shoots 7 for 20 in that same game, by the way. And yet, Portland gets outscored 34-12. I mean, and then also, by the way, in game 4, Dame shot 9 for 30. In game 5, Dame shot 7 for 24. Other than the first round against,
and he continues to go off. He says you hate Dame for no reason. You're literally stating the reasons why. You said what you said about Dame.
Exactly. And I'm gonna keep adding more feel. At this point, I like being called a hater because it adds more feel to me. So here's more feel, LeBron and 4, Dame lover. Let me keep going. Against the Warriors, game 4 in 2016, 9 for 30, and missed 14 straight shots in a span. Game 5, elimination game, 7 for 24. Let me keep going how overrated Dame is in the playoffs, right? In 2020, against the Lakers, he only shot 41%. In game 2, the Lakers won by 23, and LeBron only scored 10 points. Think about that for a moment. Just think about that. LeBron scored 10 points, and Portland lost by 23 points, right? Game 3, 8 for 20. Dame shot 8 for 20. 1 for 6 in the fourth quarter. Game 4, 3 for 9 in that game. Kobe night. Remember, Kobe night, because 8/24, we all know his jersey number. He only went 3 for 9. So how's it me hating on Dame when the facts has been, other than the Rockets series in 2014, the Thunder series in 2019, and game 5 versus the Nuggets, they underperformed? How's it my opinion when it's fact? How's it hate?
Yep.
And if I'm wrong, if I'm a hater, I'm asking LeBron and 4. Here, listen to my question. Other than the Houston Rockets in 2014, the OKC Thunder 2019, and game 5 versus the Nuggets this year, give me a clutch playoff moment Dame had. I'm asking him that question. I'm waiting.
Yep. Some people, I don't know what his logic was behind that. I don't know if Zach was actually looking for confrontation, but I know he knows that what he's saying does not make any sense. So you mean drafting Michael Jordan is a super team? How you know Michael Jordan was going to be Michael Jordan? How you know Kobe Bryant was going to be Kobe Bryant?
Good point.
That's not since when?
And
since when has that been called a super team?
You see what LeBron Force saying? You're a Knicks fan, but you got the nerve to criticize Dame. This dude's a Dame sexual. Listen, I like Dame as a player, but I have the right to criticize. What do you want me to say? Dame's never choked in the playoffs? I just named facts in which he's choked before. Just fact. How is it hate? Can I keep going? 2015 against the Grizzlies. You know what Dame did in that series? Shot 40% from the field and around 16% from 3. That's trash. And also in game 1, Dame had 15 points. Beno Udrih, who no one hears about anymore, 20 points in that game. Just a fun fact, though. And in game 5 in that series, Dame shot 8 of 19. How is this hate when I'm giving you fact?
Oh, yeah.
How is it me?
People just want to switch stuff around, G Money. That's all I could say. Even I had the same argument with Zach when we was talking about hip hop before, and I was telling them it started in New York. There's facts to this. You could back this stuff up. And he's pulling out the race card saying I don't like Eminem because Eminem white. That has nothing to do with Eminem white. I listened to white rappers, Latino rappers,
Right.
anybody that favorite that I view as good, I listen to. Music is objective. It's subjective, basically. You know, what I may not like, you may like. Okay, is music is 100% opinion related when it comes to what you like and what you don't like. All right, that's completely different. But when we talking about sports, all right, there's factual stuff to back some things up.
And I brought fact.
Like you just named the criteria of what makes Dame Dollar a choker several times in the playoffs.
Exactly.
You gave the example. Now, some of these guys, like Zach or whoever, will come in here, and if they don't like what you say, they will change the narrative and the opinion around to make it suit best for them when it's not true.
Right. And at this point, LeBron and 4, I'm not going to respond. Oh, another fact. I know people like bringing up 34 points per game for Dame in this series. Let's use some context, shall we? Game 2, he only went 2 for 9 in the second half, right, in Game 2. Game 3, he had 37 points, but he shot 5 of 16 from 3, which is bad. And Austin Rivers outscored Dame in the fourth quarter of Game 3. And Austin Rivers scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. By the way, Game 4, people say Dame had no help, but they managed to win by 20 when he went 1 for 10. And in Game 6, with a chance to force a Game 7, you know what Dame did in the second half?
He said Dame averaged 34 points per game. What are you told?
Yeah, but I'm giving you context with that. Use context. Let's keep going, right? Game 2, 2 for 9 in the second half. Okay. Game 3, scored 37 points, but he shot 5 of 16 from 3. And also, Austin Rivers scored 16 points in the fourth quarter in that game. And Dame's points in the fourth quarter were virtually in that game was meaningless because most of the points happened when the Nuggets were up 10. Okay. Game 4, he only went 1 for 10. Game 6, he had 28 and 13, but he shot 1 for 9 in the second half, 1 for 6 in the fourth quarter, and 8 for 20 in the game. Dame had a good stat series, but when I use context here and the facts, Dame only dominated in the first half of games, but he struggled in second half of games, except Game 5.
That's why there's an old saying, stats don't tell the whole story, because people just look at what's on paper. They don't look how the guy is getting it. You know, if anybody could drop 35 in that's a professional NBA player that's holding on to the ball, taking a million shots.
Has stats to back it up. Okay,
I can have G Money. If we're pro basketball players, we can have 35 points in the game if you give us a 60 shots or whatever the case may be, even if we're not an all-star.
Right, and Dame's an all-star. I get what
you're saying. I know that. I'm just making an example.
Right. And here's what people don't understand. People call James Harden a playoff choker, right? But Harden averaged 35 points per game versus the Warriors in 2019. But he choked, right? According to their logic, right? Like, you see the double standard here?
Yeah.
So we're going to say Dame didn't choke because of stats, but when Harden gets you the same numbers in certain playoff series, he's the choker? That doesn't make sense to me. Have the same energy for Dame.
He says Dame hasn't had a team like Curry.
Oh, fucking God. Let's keep going. 2019, right? Let's look at facts. No Kevin Durant. No DeMarcus Cousins. Iggy missed Game 4. Clay shot 37% from the field in that series, right? People say Dame didn't have a team in that series, but let's look at the fact, right? Yeah. The Blazers outscored the Warriors 3 out of 4 games in that series. So that means that Dame actually had a better team that year than Curry when Kevin Durant went down with an injury. Because the facts were Myers Leonard, Seth Curry, Rodney Hood, and other guys outshot Dame in this series. Klay Thompson was garbage in that series, shooting 38%. You didn't have a Kevin Durant or a Boogie Cousins because they were hurt. And also the Warriors bench was trash in 2019. You want to hear their bench, Prince? Here's their bench. Alfonso McKinney, Wayne Cook, Kevon Looney, and old Sean Livingston, and old Andrew Bogut, Jonas Jerebko. What are we talking about? How did Curry have a better team in 2019 when Klay played like shit? The Warriors bench was garbage, and he didn't have Kevin Durant. What are we talking about?
Yep. And you know what the funny part about it is?
that year.
They don't take, in fact, when a player is underachieving and not playing to his potential of being the so-called superstar. It'd be a different story if Dame Dollar was efficient, dominating the game, and his teammates didn't show up. But he's partly blamed for them losing those games because he was getting outplayed.
Right, and I want to throw this out there. He just gave Dame an excuse. Okay, did James Harden had a team like Curry by your logic? No.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
Yo, Zach, it's all good, man.
You're
I don't
good,
take
Zach.
this to heart. But hold on for a minute.
Sorry.
Zach, you don't even have to apologize, but I accept your apology because I'm a man, you're a man. We're not here to argue and call each other names. I didn't disrespect you. I'm just talking to you as a man. I mean, I'm not going to talk to you like this is a professional business, like this is a job. We're just two guys having a good time talking sports. So sometimes if my voice comes off as being aggressive, that's just how I am. I'm from New York. So we tend to talk a little bit aggressive, but that doesn't mean we're disrespecting you, So it's all love, man. We just out here talking sports, I just had to tell you what the criteria was of what I'm talking about, Have you ever seen anything like that outside of 2011 star players getting together like that? No. That's the first time. Every era has a player that could change or do something that you never saw before. Like my grandfather been watching basketball since the 60s. So from 60s to the 80s, until Jordan came, nobody was talking about GOAT stuff. Jordan was the guy that brought that individual GOAT talk. All right. He's mainly responsible for that because until he came, nobody was talking about the greatest player of all time. We was talking about teams. It was like, oh, you're a Celtics fan, you're a Lakers fan. Of course they had their individual stars, but they never got to the level where it was like, oh, this guy's the GOAT. He's the greatest. We weren't saying that until Jordan came along. Now LeBron comes along and he invented the super team, three team, whatever you want to call that, players getting together. That's his thing. That's part of his legacy. So it is what it is, But G Money, the floor is yours before we head out of here. You could tell LeBron in 4 why he's actually calling you, a Curry hater. I mean, a Dame hater.
I don't hate Dame, but Yeah. And here's how stupid he just said. Dame never had a team like Curry. I just named facts in which Dame had a better team in 2019 when Clay played like crap in that series. He didn't have Kevin Durant, and also the fact that Portland outscored Golden State 3 out of 4 games. If you take away Dame and Curry scoring, just facts. So that means that Dame's teammates stepped up in that series. And also the fact is, it doesn't matter if I respect you too, Zach, by the way. It doesn't matter if, Dame had a team like Curry. It doesn't matter. Because if we're going by that logic, did James Harden ever have a team like Curry? No, right?
Yep.
So how come here's the bias, Prince. How come we bash Westbrook, Harden, and other stars when they fall short, but when Dame chokes in the playoffs, we give him the excuse, oh, he didn't have a team like that player, or oh, his team was this and that. I'm tired of that, man.
Mm-hmm. I think Dame Dollar, LeBron James, that's all I could think of right now on top of my head that gets the most passes from a lot of people.
To me, it's Dame more than LeBron. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think Dame gets the most excuses more than LeBron. I mean, LeBron gets some excuses, obviously, when he loses. Like, people do give him a pass, but not the rate of Dame. Because not the rate of Dame.
I think the ones that give him a pass are his extreme fanboys. I think the ones that there are some good LeBron fans out there that aren't extreme. They actually call the game the way it's supposed to be called, But I think it's the over-the-top LeBron fans that give him excuse for everything.
Oh, Dame doesn't get enough credit for keeping Blazers relevant. Okay, did Aldridge keep the Blazers relevant too, right? And CJ McCollum. Yes, Dame is a superstar. I agree. But let's not act if Damian Lillard's the only reason why Portland's a good team. And I want to throw this out there, right? The Blazers are actually 19-19 without Dame. And, well, if you look at 2013 through now when he's out. So that means that it's still a decent team without Dame, right? They're 19-19 without Dame. Most teams without their superstar are trash. Without, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So Portland is still decent without Damian Lillard, right?
Oh yeah.
How's
they still got CJ.
He still
CJ's
has
always
CJ.
been a borderline all-star. He's been like a all-star stub for a lot of seasons.
Facts. He put CJ with Giannis, who'll make an all-star team.
Yeah.
And here's the stupidity, right? Oh, Dame's the best point guard. Are you fucking kidding me? Over Steph Curry?
Yeah.
Is he really that much better than Chris Paul?
Oh, since I brought that up, who's better for you, Dame or Kyrie Irving?
To me, Kyrie. I would choose Kyrie, in my opinion. Because here's why. I know Dame's a better passer, but Kyrie can pass when he wants to. Kyrie's a better clutch playoff performer.
Yeah.
It's fact. Kyrie Irving can score like Dame. It's just main reason why his numbers are not super high when it comes to scoring, because one, he's injury prone, and two, the fact he's playing with ball dominant players. If you put Kyrie Irving on the Blazers right now, he can average 30 points per game. Let's be honest. And Kyrie's efficient. He's very
efficient. He's the I forgot what that was, but the 50
40 90 club.
Yeah, that was what I was about to explain. Kyrie was part of that, and it's not very usual for a point guard, to be in that club.
Right.
Usually that is for bigger players like 6'6" or 6'8". You know.
Right.
So yeah. What's good?
Salute, y'all. Salute, man. Salute, G.
What's good?
Salute, Key. What up, man?
Word.
What y'all boys in here doing, man?
Man, we just chopping it up, talking. And Lakers can't get Mo Harkless. He resigns with the Kings. I just got that popped up. You know, so that was the guy the Lakers was after. You know,
that nigga said he rather resign with the Kings.
Yeah, he taking the bag to go with the Kings. But G Money was right with that, man. 120 million
for Chris Paul. 4 years.
Wow. And he's an aging point guard. He's going to be the highest paid point guard in the NBA.
For what, Phoenix?
Yeah.
Damn.
They giving him that bag. They're rolling out the red carpet. But I'm glad that he's able to stay with one franchise and retire with that franchise. He's most likely going to retire as a Phoenix Sun.
Yeah.
That's a good look.
Yep. For CP3, for good look for Chris Paul not to build a super team to try to get the Suns into championship contention. Do I think they will win next year? No, but it'll be a tough out.
Yep. Yeah, Zach. I mean, shout out to Chris Paul, man. He stays on the team, and now he could continue to go after them boys. It's going to be fun. I don't want to see the competition in the Western Conference deplete. Oh, speakly, hoop. Kawhi Leonard is listening to offers from other teams. I'm not saying he's leaving. I'm just saying what's reported. So, is there a chance from both of you guys that he actually leaves? Do you see it?
You want to talk first?
I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't see it, but you never know, man. Shit, I gotta see it. I gotta, like, is he taking, I have no fucking idea. I hope not.
Word. What about you, G Money?
To me, I agree with Hoop on this. Except I don't actually know what he's going to do. Kawhi is a good guy. I like Kawhi. He's a great player, very athletic, great defender, great humble guy. But he's unpredictable. You don't know what Kawhi is going to do. Like, I don't know what he's going to do, man. I have no idea. There's many things. He can stay with the Clippers. He can go to the Heat. He can go to the Mavs if that would have happened. I mean, I don't know, man. Kawhi, he's a good guy, but I don't know, man. And Greek Freak, you are right. Giannis and Kawhi won without super team. Fact.
Yep.
Greek Freak, fact. But my final answer, I don't know.
Oh yeah. But yeah, man. Yo, I come back on here later. I gotta go and pay some bills like that. How they say on commercial break. I gotta head out here. But man, I'll start working tomorrow. They contact me quick to come back to work. So I'm gonna be working back tomorrow, but I'll still be able to do my lives just different times. And I may be back on later, man. We gonna talk some more free agency, so because it's gonna be crazy for the next few days with this free agency. But shout out to Kyle Lowry for joining the Miami Heat, improving that team, making it a good team to compete in the Eastern Conference. So that should be fun to watch, man. But I'm gonna catch y'all brothers on the next one, man. Peace, y'all.
All right, y'all.
All right. And shout out to Zach, by the way, man. And shout out to AK too, man. I know what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to get my debate blood flowing, but we got to stick to the same criteria. We can't keep making up stuff. We can't do that. You know, we got to stick by what the rules states what it is, especially for what the media and the NBA calls it. You know, it's just what it is. If we keep making up stuff, then there's no point in debating because we're going to keep moving the goalposts, you know. But peace, y'all. We out.